Out of all of the Earth's environments, there's no other setting that represents the delicate balance between humans and nature more than the coral atoll. Rising only a few metres above sea level, these thin strips of coral reef and sand are home to a diverse and resilient people that face some of the most difficult living conditions known globally. The lack of surface water resources, coupled with the highly variable climates and related prevalence of droughts affecting coral atoll countries, makes securing access to safe drinking water one of the greatest challenges for island communities. Yet the most significant threat to safeguarding their limited water resources comes not from external elements, but the inhabitants themselves. Throughout the Pacific Ocean, where a majority of the world's coral atoll countries lie, island communities are experiencing the effects of wastewater on their land, groundwater and coastal waters. In the South Pacific nation of Tuvalu, an island-wide sanitation problem has emerged.
It's about 90% of the total septic tanks in Funafuti were not well constructed according to the building code. So most of them, there is no foundation at the bottom.
Before they usually open the bottom of the septic tank, so the damage of that water has been going down, and you find a lot of poison has been poured down to our good lagoon here.
Without mountains, lakes or rivers, atoll countries like Tuvalu rely heavily on the precious rain that falls. Rainwater seeps into the porous limestone ground and slowly over time builds a layer of freshwater at sea level. Because fresh water is lighter, the ocean water is forced below, and eventually a lens will form, creating the vital resource any island needs to survive, a water source. But contaminants coming from septic tank discharge and pig waste are seeping into freshwater supplies and surrounding lagoon environments, dramatically impacting drinking water quality, public health, and the quality of nearby coastal habitats and fisheries. The GEF Pacific Iwrm project, recognising an urgent need in these Pacific Island communities, supported the development of a sanitation solution, or eco-san, that would be appropriate for the harsh tropical conditions of the Pacific's small island developing states. Unexpectedly, the tiny island nation of Tuvalu would introduce an approach for their eco-san solution that was so well received by the local communities that it inspired an environmental movement that would be replicated throughout the region. Compost toilets had already been introduced on the atoll of Funafuti with little success. A steering committee that was revitalised by Iwrm identified the problems from the previous effort and sought to learn from them.
Well, compost toilets were introduced here in Tuvalu a couple of years ago, before the Iwrm came in. And the problem is they were not introduced in a good manner, so that community can accept it.
At the early stage, we find it very difficult. We have a couple of pilot projects, and we learned from that project that we have to go down to the people to understand what's their view on the compost toilet, and we try and design what's the community think is suitable to them.
Embarking on a series of local events to familiarise community members with the compost toilet, a compost toilet roadshow was undertaken so stakeholders could see and learn how the toilet worked. And to provide the community a sense of ownership with the project, a contest was held to give compost toilets a local Tuvaluan name. The Fale Vatia was born. When the program launched, the project had difficulty finding even 10 families to trial the compost toilet. Now, less than 3 years later, over 25% of Funafuti's households, or 275 families, are seeking to install the Whalevatia.
That is one of the major achievements that we have achieved. It's actually convincing the community to accept the initiative.
I'm very happy that we have one like this. We save waters like that.
I greatly support the idea that most of the house here, all the house here in Funafuti must have one.
Using Whalevatia is one of the goodest things I ever had. During the drought, still we can manage to use water without getting water from the community water systems.
While the compost toilet eliminates the need for fresh water and stops the contamination of groundwater, it also helps address another pressing dilemma associated with atoll living.
So what's the biggest issue that people face in their domestic gardening?
There are two problems facing with them. It's the water and also the soil. The soil is very poor. Now we are encouraging the people to make the compost, like for them to use in their home gardening.
With safe, nutrient-rich compost, the people of Tuvalu are starting to reap the benefits of healthier and more bountiful crops. The success of the Whalevatia is spreading beyond the shores of Tuvalu, reaching some 1,800 kilometres to the north on the Majuro Atoll in the Marshall Islands. Iwrm sought to replicate the EcoSan toilet initiative in Majuro to safeguard the island's most valuable source of fresh water, the Laura water lens.
It is the freshwater lens, only source of fresh water for the people of Majuro. And the population on Laura depends on it highly.
As the population grows and a lot of human activities and livestock, there's a lot of contaminant going down. We've introduced a couple demo projects. The one behind me is the what we call the compost toilet. It's a well-designed, proven in Tuvalu. This one is on the surface, completely nothing going down, little water going out. And the only thing added to it after you do your business, just grab some green and just drop them in there. It helps the process, speed up the process.
Although the implementation of compost toilets has helped to address the problem of septic tanks, the amount of piggeries and number of pigs kept in household pig pens in Laura has also grown considerably and represents one of the key threats to the water lens and coastal waters. Local farmers have been using improper pig waste disposal practices that not only makes inefficient use of their limited water supply, but a large amount of pig waste was draining directly into the lens. To counteract the negative impacts of the piggeries, the GEF Pacific Iwrm project sought to introduce a more sustainable approach to the management of pig waste, a dry litter pig pen.
One of our dry litter piggery projects is just like the one behind me, and there's several others throughout the area in Laura. Basically, you just put the pig in, and you put all these leaves and all these other organic materials in. So the pig waste is going to mix with these organic materials, and within about a month you take them out, put them in a bin, and then you do the cycle of making a compost.
With the dry litter system, the benefits were immediately noticeable.
This dry litter, piggery litter system is an issue that I think will probably interest many farmers and those that like to have pigs and they raise their pigs. Unlike the system we're currently using where we need a lot of water to wash out the pig waste and to also have a septic tank system in place.
You have really good compost, doesn't affect the water lens, and there's no smell. The pigs are much happier.
You can use it on your gardening or flower bed, anywhere around the house. Really beneficial. But the main thing that come out of the compost is enrich the soil, and he's been getting bigger fruit than the normal of gardening. So the marketing side is picking up.
With the integration of the EcoSan projects gaining traction, stakeholders in the Republic of Marshall Islands and Tuvalu realised that the future of these projects would rely on having proper policy and enforced regulations in place.
We're also looking at updating our marine quality regulations and the public water supply regulations to also adapt what we've learned from the Iwrm and put it into the current regulations that we have.
The work of the GEF Pacific Iwrm project in reducing stress on vulnerable atoll environments has brought about transformational change. Based on the success of EcoSan, Tuvalu's recently endorsed National Water and Sanitation Policy has identified EcoSan composting toilets as the preferred sanitation option for its communities. In addition to the Marshall Islands, the Tuvaluan compost toilet is being adopted in other island nations, including Nauru, Tonga and Vanuatu, with Nauru expanding the application of EcoSan from households to schools. Similarly, Tuvalu is currently exploring how to best adopt the dry piggery system tested in the Marshall Islands, with more atoll countries ready to follow. Success breeds success in island communities, and this is perhaps best demonstrated by the catalytic role the GEF Pacific Iwrm project has played. Following Iwrm's successful demonstration of 40 EcoSan toilets on Funafuti, the European Union has recently made a significant investment in scaling up the use of EcoSan on Funafuti and on Tuvalu's outer atolls to further generate the water security, public health and environmental benefits needed to fashion sustainable futures for atoll communities. Life on Pacific atolls will always be challenging. With limited resources and the possibility of an increasingly variable climate, it's important for SIDS to effectively manage threats to livelihoods and the environment that are within their control. Iwrm's EcoSan initiatives, especially in Tuvalu, have been driven and led by communities in partnership with government. It's this type of community-to-cabinet approach that is required to generate solutions to some of the region's most pressing development needs that are not only accepted by communities, but are owned by communities.